employed and contributing members of society. As I went through the different areas of that building and talked to the staff of each one of those levels in there, the question that I asked each one of them was not only how many employees they had in there at any given time. A lot of them are contractual employees, only 2 that are employed by the county. The rest of them are all under contract to the county. And when we write a contract to the county with an agency, all of the elements of their cost are part of that contract. I know that because at one point in time, I wrote the contracts for the county, for some of those agencies. And the fact of the matter is that those agencies that are in that building are not including an element of rent or space cost, and therefore our contract costs us less. And the bottom line, if we charge them rent, we would be charging ourselves, because if we added it to their element of cost, they would simply turn around and add it to the contract. So in fact, the taxpayers of Monroe County are not losing any money. I think that it's important that we put into perspective what it is that that building does and what its success rate was. The last question that I asked when I was in that building and the Democratic staff members were there, I asked, what is the recidivism rate for the people that are coming through the 3 levels of service in that building? And what I was told was that if they're coming right out of state prison and they don't have these facilities or these type of programs, the recidivism rate is about 70%. The recidivism rate for the individuals going through this building is 11%. That is a huge economic impact on Monroe County. It puts people back and makes them productive, contributing members of society, saves us, the taxpayers, incredible amounts of money by not dealing with them. And even more important than the money, more important than the money is the fact that there are no new victims out there. That low recidivism rate means that there is a lot of innocent people in this county and probably the surrounding areas that are not victims of a crime because of what's done for them in this building. I vote against this amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple questions through you to the administration. First, out of all the entities in this building that we have contracts with, do any of these entities have contracts with anybody else?
To the President, I can speak for the reentry program on the 3rd floor and the Pretrial Services Corporation on the 1st and 2nd floor. Dr. Plum can speak to the mental health workers on the 4th floor. All of the services that are provided on those first 3 floors are provided on behalf of the Monroe County taxpayers. And to the inmates, the offenders, the individuals coming out of prison and jail that the legislator referred to. There are no other clients of these agencies, except if you mean the Catholic Family Center on the reentry program that certainly provides services beyond prisoner work that they do for the county.
Thank you. Through the President, so you're saying that CFC has outside clients, correct?
To the President, the services provided at 80 West Main Street, there are no other clients other than those referred by local judges, by the probation department, and by the State Department of Corrections. So at this facility, no.
Thank you. Are there any of these entities that are charged rent for this building?
To the President, Catholic Family Services does pay.
So all of the services, I'm to understand that all of the services, the Catholic Family Services that is in this building provides is to the county. And all the other services that every other entity provides in this building is to the county. And only one of them is paying rent. Why are they paying rent and nobody else is?
Through the President, my understanding is that Catholic Family Services is the recipient of a grant for that specific purpose, payment of rent, which explains why it pays rent and the others don't. Although, frankly, it's not really a fair characterization to say the pretrial services doesn't pay rent.
I'm sorry, could you please clarify that to the President?
Through the President, sure. Pretrial services work as people have already testified tonight. The fact that they utilize county space is reflected in the reduced charge. So you could, 6 of one, half dozen of another, that if we actually charge them rent, the cost for their services would increase naturally. So we're really going around in circles here, and we're talking about the same thing.
Further discussion?
Mr. President, through the President and Legislature Driscoll, to clarify your comments, please, did you indicate that you believe that since the county contracts with the agencies, the county has an obligation to pay the full costs for the agencies to do business in that building?
Through the President, no, it isn't ever said at all. So they have a contract, they think, and if you charge rent, it's an element of their cost, and it would simply be charged back to the county.
I'm speaking still obviously in favor of the amendments. The county contracts with so many providers and agencies and organizations to do its business. And Department of Human Services alone, it could probably go through 50 or 60, or could really pull out the budget and go through all pages of it, go through all of the referrals where we contract with other associations to do our work. Just looking here at the information provided tonight in regards to contracts, agency contracts for the early intervention program. There's one. There's 6 pages here of different agencies that do contracts, and as an example, I don't believe the county has to pay rent for all of the agencies that we contract with. I understand what the Legislature Driscoll was trying to indicate, that or imply that perhaps they would then add that rent cost to our contract with them, but that contract is subject to approval by this body. Pre-trial contract, I think last year we approved for about $1.85 million, and I believe that referral comes back to us next month. So certainly we do control some of the contracts that we uphold with those agencies. And to ask the taxpayers to pay $200,000 for 2 per employee, our 2 county employees that we have at that facility, just still, I haven't heard a reason to me to clarify or to explain why that would possibly be an acceptable and appropriate thing to do. And finally, through the President to the administration, I understand that that's not a county-owned building. Who does own that building?
Through the President, the payment for rent to that facility goes to Wegman Building Associates.
Through the President, who is Webman Building Associates?
Through the President, I don't have that information readily available to myself. We can get that to you.
Okay. Through the President, nobody standing at the table knows?
Through the President, Frank Icavangelo, Bernie Icavangelo, Anthony M. Icavangelo, and Carmen Indiano, DBA Wegman Building Associates.
Thank you very much.
Legislator Camp.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the administration, I have a couple questions about the services officers at 80 West Main Street. typically, could you describe, there are three different services